Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. For the time being, Rick joining us. We're trying to get this thing to work. I want everybody to know who's along the line watching. I canceled my service with Zoom. The stock values went up, but the service went down. I mean, right now they're under tremendous burden, and with all the schools and the online kinds of educational applications, and they want to get rid of bandwidth wasters like me. So I think we were put on a lower tier, and that's what ended up happening. And so I just said,
we're not a priority.
No, but with StreamYard, they've done a really nice job.
He rose up on me again
in streamlining the product. So and I want Brian and I and anyone else, we're going to be and you too, Rick, any word on the Browns roster, because the cuts down to the 53-man roster due at 4:00 today. I've not seen anything in print about everything yet. But, anything that somebody stumbles across, I can't go searching right now being live on the air. So anyone who's in the chat room or who's, wants to jump in and help out.
Well, right now they should still be in the middle of their walkthrough, I believe. Hi, Cindy.
Yeah. So, I think that, whatever it is, am I still frozen, Rick, or am I going in and out?
You've only frozen twice. I mean, nothing like in the past. So maybe we just got ourselves a little hiccup here and there, and I'll just keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope so. But anyone who can help out, hi, Cindy, to help out if the Browns, cuts come down the line, just fire them off. Interrupt what I'm saying, and we'll get names because I think fans want to hear that stuff. The first thing is that the Browns got themselves a safety. So they're already down 2-0 to the Ravens. Wait, did I read that wrong?
I think there's a 0 past that too, isn't it?
Ronnie Harrison, Jerome Harrison's long-lost brother, it came from Jacksonville. What I can tell you about this, we know that he went to the University of Alabama. He started a number of games for Jacksonville last year. There's been a massive exodus. This land is mine. From Jacksonville to wherever, and players counting their lucky stars to get the hell out of Jacksonville. Can this guy play? I don't know. I saw Demarius Randall was not signed. He's let go, released by Oakland. So there's another safety that would, he has familiarity with the Browns, but not with the system. So, I don't know if we want to fiddle with Demarius Randall again. He was a second stage free agent. They signed him for $1.5 million and let him go because the Raiders are going with a youth movement in their safety, in their backfield. So that's that. Hi, Crembley. How you doing? And just say hi to the folks here and give them chance to take their bows. DSL is crap, but streaming fine on YouTube. DSL, I didn't even know DSL still existed, for God's sakes. Hi, Am. How you doing, Mr. Amsterdam?
Not to be confused with DHL.
Yeah, they're
still around too.
Yeah, slow delivery. Very slow delivery, Brian. Joe Schobert goes to Jacksonville. Well, that's a living. But after you've been in Cleveland for a while, you're hoping for better, and you didn't realize that it can get worse, And, Joe Thomas is sitting there saying, thank God I never ended up in Jacksonville. Nothing good.
On the other hand, he can sit on the beach and go fishing.
You know what happens in Jacksonville? They're the runner-up city to get the Republican National Convention, which never happens. That's the definition of Jacksonville. It's just not a real good situation there at all. So, I mean, what I know about Ronnie Harrison is not very much. He was the 3rd round pick, and we're giving up a 5th round pick.
And a teammate of Mac Wilson.
And he was a teammate of Max over at the University of Alabama. Hi, Stephen. How you doing, buddy?
Long time no see, guys. How y'all been?
Yeah, good. I mean, you've lost some weight according to I follow you, not in the sense of little Peggy March wherever you may go. I know I'm dating dating myself.
Whoa!
I know. I
give that an 8.2.
Yeah, I know exactly. And the fact that I know that this little Peggy March is really scary. And what was terrible is that when she tried to make a comeback later, when she was like over 50, they called her Little Piggy March because she gained so much weight.
Yep.
Not really. Yeah, he did play with Mac Wilson at the University of Alabama. He's an energy player. He's 23 years old. He played a lot of free safety last year, but he did get a little bit of work in the box and even in the slot. All right. That's the role that the Browns had envisioned for Grant Delpit, who is no longer. And it's very important in Joe Wood's defense. I mean, his scheme, it's important. If somebody's feeding back, and I wish they'd stop. He is a guy who is kind of a third safety. I don't know what to think of this. The Browns were relying on Carl Joseph, a first-round pick who Oakland let go, and Andrew Sendejo, a veteran who spent most of his career with the Vikings. After those two, Sheldrick Redwine next, and then a bunch of unknowns. So adding Harrison is just another body, more or less. It's pretty sad when you're going with a former first-round pick who bombed at Oakland, and then you're hoping that Sendejo, who's not fast enough really to do the job, is going to get the job done. But he's supposed to be smart. But there's something obviously that didn't attract the attention of Jacksonville, who is literally getting rid of everybody and just cutting back on costs. The NFL really needs to look at two markets. Washington, really, seriously, they really need to get Snyder the hell out of there, because it is becoming more and more bizarre by the day what's going on there. Adrian Peterson got cut, and I'm not saying that's unusual. He was their leading rusher. But I don't know that team's taken any kind of a direction toward winning. And the shenanigans going on alongside football that are things that are directly attributed to Dan Snyder, really bad. And Jacksonville, it reminds me of Ted Stepien. The ownership of Jacksonville just doesn't have a clue how to run a sports franchise. And it's just an awful problem. And for the fans, there is, I remember when Nick Foles went there and they said, this is going to be the answer. And it's like, this is a career backup quarterback. I mean, we've seen this scenario play out a gazillion times that, guys who are backup quarterbacks, Scott Mitchell, guys who are backup quarterbacks who have a good season, are not necessarily starters. And, throughout the history of the game I watched, Don Strock was probably one of the great guys who would come in as a backup quarterback. And God help me, I'm forgetting Buffalo's backup quarterback behind Frank Reich was another one who was a very, very capable backup quarterback. But but if you gave the reins to that person as a starting quarterback, it's a different animal. They get to game plan you every single week. They notice tendencies, and it's not so easy to be a big-time winner in the NFL. So, I don't know what to tell you, folks. We're just adding bodies. Brady Aiello, he's an offensive tackle. He used to play in Oregon, and he got the hell out before the protesters killed him. The Browns roster basically, with his addition, went up to 77. So who in the hell knows? Again, originally signed by the Vikings as an undrafted free agent out of Oregon. So this is a guy who Stefanski wanted to take a look-see at. He's 6'6", 307 pounds. And if you're looking at our offensive line depth chart, goodness gracious, Kendall Lamb, Chris Hubbard, Alex Taylor, behind starters, Jedrick Wills Jr. and Jack Conklin. It's one of the reasons why you'll hear my prediction for the Browns season, and you're not going to be overwhelmed by it, because trying to win without a deep offensive line or even a full load of starters is going to be very, very difficult. I don't know anything else about Aiello whatsoever. Harrison, for his part, has said, Cleveland, I'm ready.
He played at Oregon.
Yeah, but
in the spread. So,
Duck. Okay. The Browns, forget it. Browns new safety Ronnie Harrison says, Cleveland, I'm ready to get to work. And the custodial services at Cleveland Brown State. No, we're not even going to go there. I don't want to say that. He was shocked, by the way, when he heard the Jags were trading him to the Browns. I mean,
well, at this point, I would be pretty shocked too if I were a player.
Yeah, it's late in the game. I mean, right now he doesn't know what the hell we're doing, and he has no time to prepare. So Ronnie Harrison is not somebody who the Browns are looking at as being a guy who hits the field running. They're looking at him as an extra body. What he said was, "Thank you, Jacksonville," on Instagram. He goes, "It's been a great 2 years. I'm very thankful, and I'm out of here." That was
Run away.
See ya.
But then he also wrote this in his caption on Instagram. There's been a lot on my mind and a lot I want to say, but I'll let my play do the talking. Fuck you, Jags. Eat my dick. I don't know. And then he just said, dog pound, y'all just got a killer. And Gerard Warren responded, no, let's get this ring. I don't want to hear y'all.
Says, yeah, that's my boy.
Let me tell you something. In today's environment, you don't want to say, hey, y'all just got a killer. It's like, yeah, I know. It would be, especially if you're going to Minneapolis to the Vikings. Like, oh, we got plenty of those. What do we need to get one by trade? We just ship them in from the outside. He's not going to be in uniform tonight. Of course, tonight is the dress rehearsal at First Energy Stadium. I called it Cleveland Brown Stadium. It is First Energy Stadium, even though it's lacking the energy it purports to have. The dress rehearsal will have Baker Mayfield in a pink tutu. So that'll be really exciting for all of us to see. As far as whether he can be ready to face the Ravens September 13th, he goes, it's definitely doable. If I just turn one direction or another, I'll be facing them. I'll be on the sidelines. That's basically what Ronnie Harrison, they asked him what he brought from Alabama. He said, well, education would not be one of them. I'm just bringing that savage mentality.
My GED.
I just love a savage. I love a savage, especially in my backfield. Yes. Just that mentality is that every play having that defense turned up. I like being that leader out there, talking and keeping guys encouraged. Whenever I need to be, just being there. I just want to go play and have fun. Just like Cyndi Lauper. I just want to have fun.
Well, at least it wasn't Papa Don't Preach.
Yeah.
God, so I want to talk a little bit about the Browns this year because I'm concerned. Obviously, it's going to be a very hard thing facing the Ravens a week from Sunday. Yeah. And it could be humiliating, in fact. And I think there are going to be a couple of teams, and the scores are going to be humiliating in the first week of the NFL. I believe that just because teams that are starting out with new systems. I mean, you know, the Bengals and Joe Burrow, I mean, they're going to throw the kitchen sink at that kid week one, and it's very difficult coming into a new system. And this is basically what Baker Mayfield, he's going to be a sitting duck with some of the offensive line being a swinging gate. And I'm not real encouraged when I hear, you know, so what do you think of Jedrick Wills Jr.? Well, he's had his ups and downs. I keep hearing that all over. And I'm hearing it all over the league from other guys who were drafted in the first round as offensive tackles. As left tackle position goes in the NFL, it's difficult. We haven't gotten over Joe Thomas. And we have already tried to replace him, and it's been an abject failure. And for Jedrick Wills being a first-round pick, there's a lot of pressure on this young man to do something, and it is a position that is fraught with errors for young players. That is the history of the position. Very few people just come in and get the job done right off the bat. So that is, and that's not even his blind side, I mean, Conklin will take care of him on one side, but I am worried about the left side of the offensive line. And I'm also worried about the fact that our center, J.C. Treader, is likely not going to be able to play. I can honestly see like a 42-10 loss in this first week, very, very easily. And the mental fragility of this organization when you hit the field under a new coach, and if you get slaughtered on the field, and I'm about 90% certain this is not going to be a competitive game, nor do I think under normal circumstances. This is not me degrading Kevin Stefanski. I'll have 16 games to do that. I'm just saying anybody thrust in that circumstance, I think it's an impossible task. And for the Browns to win any of their first 4 games, I would be greatly surprised. And, the only good thing I can tell you is with no fans there, maybe there is, the home field advantage and the fact that things will be quiet, that at least, Baker will be able to hear the plays that are being called, the other players will be able to hear, and there won't be that crushing din of noise that can intimidate people when you're playing on the road. So that's what I'm afraid of.
Supposedly a lot of the stadiums are going to be piping in like faux noise, crowd noise.
Yeah, and I'm sure the Patriots will be doing it illegally.
Yeah.
There'd be no great surprises
it's
there.
It's weird playing in silence where you don't see like the fans there as a player, like as a visiting team, you're like, it kind of takes that pressure off.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I mean, if they're piping in
all of the Patriot cheerleaders are going to be replaced with Thai masseuses.
Yeah, what I don't get is if
you
they're
a happy ending.
If they're listen to me using radio language, if they're raising and lowering canned fan noise. I mean, what's going to happen? So when they're in the red zone, they're going to turn it down completely. So they'll have So when Lamar Jackson goes like this, that's the cue.
Dial it down. He's asking for quiet. Dial it down.
Yeah, and then Baker will be like, and the guy's going to be cranking the bitch.
Yeah.
In your dreams, Baker.
Yeah.
Turn it up.
I guess that's how it's going to work. And, you could, and the thing about recording is it's all in frequencies. And believe me, they will do whatever they can to employ whatever aggravating frequencies they can when the Browns are, there is so much cheating that's going on in every walk of life right now.
Do you think now, since the fans are gone, do you think this could be like a double-bladed sword, like a good and bad scenario for the road team?
Well, I think what it's going to do is what I already know, and that's that people will just cheat and do whatever they can to win.
Put sirens on or something, or like a bell horn.
No, I'm telling you, I mean, if I could control with a really good, frequency kind of machine, like, you can punch up high end to a point where it will just literally frazzle a person. I mean, to the point where, we used to deal with things like optimods in the radio business that you could just pump up specific, frequencies. And think of it like when you're getting an ear test, a hearing test, and, and they're boop, 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 and so when the boop goes away, that's like, well, you've lost that frequency, right?
Yeah.
But imagine if they took the one that you heard the best in and cranked it up to the fucking roof, and and instead of a boop, it was like a staticky white noise.
Yeah.
You fucking deafen people that way.
And even sometimes when they turn it off, you can still hear it, like, because it's still like ringing in your ears.
Well, look, my right ear, this guy right here. I mean, I have diminished hearing from my years as a disc jockey, and that's when I was a kid. I was a disc jockey went from 16 to 20 years of age. And I mean, you cranked up, real stud, You got a pair of fucking Sennheisers when you're a 17-year-old kid and you crank it up, and then somebody says, "Hey, good show." It's like, what? It's like you feel like Pete Townsend, and that's what happens to musicians who lose their hearing it's that all that frequency.
He did that by jamming his guitar through an amp. I mean, there's a little bit of a difference.
Not necessarily. And the reason I say that is because you can create a feedback scenario and a looping scenario, which is what feedback is, and it can deafen people. And this is a scary thing because, look, if the Astros wired people up and won the World Series, and the Patriots spied on teams, I mean, you tell me what's going to happen next. You tell me. I don't like that. But every team, they're going to say, well, it's going to be every team, and it's like, but you got to be really nefarious, really nefarious. And you can deafen anybody you want to deafen.
Alexa, bring the noise.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting, Amsterdam. Back in the day, Sennheisers were the first lightweight on-air. These are the old-fashioned kind, we call these cans, okay? If over the ear kind of things. Well, the original first broadcast Sennheisers, they had little sponge pieces for the ears, and they were all replaceable parts. And so they would snap in, and they were exceedingly lightweight. And one of the things with disc jockeys is they would take their headsets, and after their shift were over, they'd throw them in, I mean, these things, these types of things, like if you got the really good Sennheisers, they were built to last. But everybody wanted the portable ones, the lightweight ones, because they were really kind of funky colors and they were really light. But yeah, believe me, you can feedback anything, Brian. I mean, you could give the fans literally by just cranking up a few dials, you could deafen a team. And I'm not kidding you. You could really distort what they were hearing, and you could make background noise sound like it was 10 times louder. There's a lot of shit you can do, and it's an unfortunate thing. But, we'll see. Rick, I'll ask you, Rick. I mean, what's your feeling about having to go into the den of lions in week 1 for the Browns? No, he's
Rick?
I guess.
Is he frozen?
Am I frozen?
You did freeze. You've been frozen a couple of times, not to the extent that it's been in the past. So I'm just sticking it out and just see how it goes the rest of the show.
Yeah. What do you think about the Browns? You have a bad feeling about week 1?
I saw that the Ravens were favored by 8.5, and I'm thinking, gee, that's modest, because I was going to pick a worse score than that. It's just, I think they're just going to feel their way around that first game. I don't think they're really sure, the tight end situation, and is Baker going to have to play with his head on a swivel until the offensive line problems get themselves solved? But I look for the Ravens to win fairly easily, and I think it'll be a moral victory if we get out of that with as few injuries as possible, and then just focus on the Cincinnati game, because it's only 4 days right after the Ravens game. We've got to turn right back around and face Joe Burrow. And then if Burrow lights us up, we may have to sit down and have a chat.
Well, what my concern is, the running game just gets crushed. And if that happens, you're going to have a run-up score, because Baker's not going to be able. I don't care how much weight he lost from body mass, lean body mass he's achieved. He's not fast enough to get away from these people, and it could be a mad scramble.
Yeah. If the running backs get stopped, then Odell and Landry are going to start screaming for the ball. I'm going to save you. Throw me the ball. And then at the end, they're going to complain that they didn't get enough passes thrown their way. So we'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, the Cleveland Indians, meanwhile, are winning. They're 23-14, 37 games, 23 left to go. It's been an interesting trip, as they say. I don't even, what I'm doing is I'm going in right now to ESPN just to take a look at the general standings, that the Indians are half a game up over the White Sox, 1 game above the Twins. So really, that record doesn't mean a whole hell of a lot. Tampa Bay is running away with the East. The Yankees are tied with the Blue Jays at 20-16, so they're within hailing distance of the Indians as well. And the Athletics are ahead, and the Astros are at 21-15. So, how many, Rick? How many wild card teams in this shortened season do we? What is the deal?
Jeez. Can't keep. I think they keep changing it every day. I don't know just how many wild card teams, but I think it's possible for like one division to actually have 3 wild card, or have 3 teams come out of it and make the playoffs.
They said they take the top 2 in each division, and then the 7th and 8th seed are going to be whichever has the best record after that. So they said in one division you could have up to 4 teams get in.
All right, so 2 third-place teams with the best record.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
All right. So realistically, I mean, and those are going to be what, 1-game playoff things?
No, it's going to be the best of 3, and the higher seeds get home court advantage for the whole entire first round. So it'll be like, let's say if the Astros and Dodgers had a 3-game series and it was all in LA, then that would be basically your playoff series right there.
All right. So that will explain why I'm seeing that they're predicting a 98% chance that the Indians are going to make the postseason. That is a statistical thing that has been floating out there. I'll say this, with Clevenger gone, is it the right thing to do? Again, you fall into something good. Clevenger was a guy who was basically going nowhere after Tommy John surgery, and who came up with a very lively fastball and a very sharp slider, and really became much more than what anybody expected in Cleveland. When in 2016, when he first, was cited by the Cleveland Indians, he was 23. 2014. He had a 1-3 record and a 5.37 earned run average in Class A ball. He was throwing in the high 80s. He was trying to build his arm up after the surgery. So, you know, at the Citadel, that's where he went to school. He had a 5-3 record with a 5.15 earned run average. And he only struck out 77 guys in 93 innings. There's just, you know, professional baseball, he was the right size at 6'4" and 200 pounds. His fastball did peak at 93 miles an hour when he was before his surgery. You know, and as a relief pitcher, that's where it looked like he was going to make his living. He struck out 52 in 32 innings. You know, when he transferred to Seminole Junior College in Florida, the Angels picked him up in the 4th round of 2011. And, you know, but he hurt his elbow after only 8 games, 18 months recovering, and he didn't look good at all when he did come back and pitch in Class A. Meanwhile, the Indians were having the Vinny Pestano headache. He had been a great reliever, but was, you know, overused. And between 2010 and 2012, he ended up with arm problems. They had demoted him to AAA. The Angels claimed him, and rather than take money for Pestano, the Indians asked for a prospect, and Clevenger's name was nowhere in the conversation. However, when they were looking at the Angels farm system, they noticed that he had struck out 58 and 55 innings, and they knew that Pestano had a dead arm. Everybody knew that. The Indians had him clocked at 94 miles an hour, and they thought he would be a right-hander coming out of the bullpen. So they ended up taking Clevenger. So nobody would have possibly known that he could be as good as he has been. But I do still think that there's an injury ahead of him. And, you know, I noticed that Trevor Bauer, who was not good last year, is having a very good year this year. So, I mean, he can pitch. Clevenger can pitch. But the Indians, for their part, have been starting, you know, Plesac, who continues to look good. I'm a little worried about Savali. I want to see how he, from appearance to appearance, looks. I'm always concerned with Carrasco because of his general health. And also, he's had a history of arm problems as well. And the Indians don't have the kind of depth that they need. Tristan McKenzie bounced back. He looked very good in his last start, where he had more command. The thing that I noticed between his second and third starts, the second start was peculiar. He was waiting much longer between pitches, like he was thinking too much, and his mechanics got out of whack. He lost his command. He came back working faster, and the funny thing was he was working faster, and the Kansas City Royals kept backing out of the batter's box, trying to slow him down, because I think that's what teams are going to want to do with the young player. He's a little bit excitable. He's a little bit on edge. They're going to try to make him think about the game a little bit more, but he's looked very, very good. You know, Naylor is not as fat as I thought he would be at 5'11" and 250 pounds. I still don't think that he's going to be any great outfielder. As a left-handed hitter, you know who he kind of made me think of was kind of like when we first laid our eyes on Shin-Soo Choo, a guy who was a gap hitter. I don't think that Naylor is a guy who's going to crunch a lot of home runs, but the Royals out in the outfield, I'm trying to think of who was their left fielder? Gordon took away a big double from him in the gap that he crushed. And that's very typical, hitting line drives and using the whole field. That's the kind of guy Naylor is. He's going to make better contact than the other bozos that we had out there. And again, it comes down to if the Indians can put up numbers on the board or whether they're going to have to. They can't play from behind. That's obvious. Roberto Perez is hurt again. I don't think he ever got healed. From the play I remember distinctly is when, on a third strike, the ball got away from him and he went back to get it and he leaned back on his haunches and he was in no position to throw to first base, and he threw it to first base and he used all arm, no body, and I think he hurt his arm. And he hasn't looked for shit at home plate. So that's the reason why Austin Hedges is now on the team. They need somebody who's a frontline starting catcher who knows how to handle defensively. And Hedges is one of the best defensive catchers, along with Perez, in the major leagues. The Indians are going to live and die by keeping games close and seeing if they can pull them out. Lindor has started to hit. Ramirez has been a little shaky. Franmil Reyes, I don't know where this is coming from, to be very honest with you. He's hitting fastballs. He's hitting curveballs. He's hitting balls over his head. He's hitting them off his ankles. I mean,
he's even hitting his own balls.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing. There was something that he said, and I wonder if there's truth to it, that hitting behind Santana, the one thing about Carlos Santana, and he's not having a great year at the plate, is that he sees a lot of pitches. So if you're on deck and you're looking at the same pitches that Carlos Santana is looking at, you get a read on the pitcher. And I consider that to be important, because what's happening is, instead of guessing, Reyes is just letting the ball get deeper into the zone. And he's got so much mammoth power, he can go the opposite way. And the vast majority of his home runs are going out to right and right center. I mean, he's just a monster when it comes to, he hit a single that ate up the third baseman that came off 100 miles an hour off his bat on a fucking ground ball. He's hitting the hell out of the ball. Can't continue at a 300 plus clip, but that's helping a hell of a lot. Naquin's come alive. That's helped a hell of a lot. And, we're going into Milwaukee. Or actually, Milwaukee's coming into Cleveland, I should say. Although it's funny because Major League, the movie, was actually recorded in Milwaukee.
Right.
Yeah, that was the stadium they used. Not the Indian Stadium. Here are your pitchers. Corbin Burns, not Corbin Burnson. And he's 1-0.
He's older than Ams.
Yeah, 1-0 with a 2.87 earned run average. And Carlos Carrasco is going for the Tribe. Our starting lineup looks like this. It's going to be announced, but everyone's expecting Cesar Hernandez, and I've really liked the job he's done. Nice job in the field, and he's gotten on base. You got Jose Ramirez second, Lindor third, Santana, then Reyes, then Naquin, then Naylor, then Hedges, and then Delino DeShields. DeShields has made some nice plays in center field. That's what we can say about that. So the Indians will be on tonight, and that's something to keep your eye on. 7:10 at Progressive Field. At least they're doing all right. They've outrighted Domingo Santana to an alternate site, which is really Antarctica. That's where they have outrighted him to. Domingo Santana, if you take away the last, the first 2.5 months of last year, Domingo Santana hasn't hit major league pitching. Everybody knows the story with him, and he strikes out far too much. And I don't think you're going to be seeing him back in Cleveland again. He's not a good defensive outfielder, and he just doesn't make enough legitimate contact. So, anything surprising you guys about the Cleveland Indians?
Yeah, the fact that they're actually have a 600 winning percentage.
Yeah, that I'm a little bit surprised with their bullpen. I didn't think they'd be as good as they've at least shown thus far. I figured they'd be struggling like crazy just trying to get to, Brad Hand in the 9th inning, but they seem to have held their own. And I guess Hand is, I don't know, I guess he's perfect so far as saves go.
I can't help but think that this whole pitching scenario has really played into a short season where the hitters were behind the curve starting out the season, and the Indians hitters were just like the rest of the league. And the hitting just didn't. It was bad. The offense was just negligible in the big leagues, and the Indians starting pitching really is good. That it got them off to a really better start. And the same thing can be said about the Rays, who are really off to a great start. And I think that, there are teams that maybe look better because of the shortened season. And the longer the Indians starting rotation can go through without an injury, and there's 23 games left to go, they can make an impact against any team in the playoffs, the way things are set up. The teams that are the big hitting teams in baseball, it hasn't played out that way. The White Sox, interestingly, are far stronger than what people thought they would be.
Yeah.
And the Indians, in general, the entire division, I mean, the Tigers have not been a pushover, and of course, with the White Sox, the Twins, and the Indians, that is not a pushover division right now. So a lot of hitting in Chicago, but Chicago's pitching has held in much better than people thought. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the hitting just hasn't been there. Just hasn't been there. So,
what do you think of Alamar's managerial audition so far this year?
Well, it may be more than that. This is, Francona has been having problems, and these types of problems, I would not be surprised. You have a procedure, and once that starts with gastrointestinal stuff, then they start talking bowel resections and things of that nature. And it's painful. It's not something that you want to be sitting on a bench, chewing bubble gum and, going through the inevitable grief that lays ahead of you. Alomar is a guy who's level-headed. He's a good organizational guy. I don't know that is he a head coach? I don't think a manager. I don't know that we know that. But right now, I say that it's, it's the best could be expected. And I think especially, the thing that I really find funny is that the hitting is no worse since Tyvon Berkeley went away. And this has been my point. He just opted out of the whole season. I wish he'd opt out of the rest of his fucking career. That guy is the worst hitting coach, honestly. Bad hitting coach. And the Indians have had a problem with this. I want to see more patience at the plate from Indians. And instead we go fishing all the time. But yeah, between he and Sarby being opting out, we're working with, guys who have been moved from different places in the organization to be, first base and third base coaches and things of that nature. It's all over the place. It's worked out so far. So,
one other thing that's been surprising is the number of games where they've actually scored double digits.
Yeah, which is really kind of like a dog and pony show. I always say, give me 14 runs in one game. No, just give me like 6, 6, and 4 over 3 games, and let my starting pitching win 3 games instead of just laying it on somebody and then turning around the next day and only scoring once and losing, which is what happens. I
win 10-1, then lose 2-10.
The Indians are not a team that are going to put together a lot of big innings because their hitters are not guys who are patient, who will take a walk to get on base, to keep the thing moving. I don't have a problem. I know that people aren't going to bunt, and I don't want to play small ball. But you got to get men on base. And if you're up 3-0 in a count, I don't want to see somebody just guessing and get the pitcher coming up with a breaking ball or a changeup and the guy way out in front and he swings at something and it's ball 4. You got to get something started. And, we have a lot of guys who are capable at the top of the lineup to not just hit home runs, but they can hit a lot of balls in the gaps, and they can score runners from first base. So getting to first base, even if it's just token by a walk, it's okay. But for some reason, that's not what they do. So for whatever reason. But I'm pleased with the way the Indians are playing. I've been watching them play. That they have in 2 games, I have never seen such bad base running as what's happened with the Indians' opponent on 2 levels. One was this last road trip. It was Molina, and I don't know what the fuck, he had a fucking brain cramp on third base, and then it came back in Kansas City, and they did virtually the same damn thing. I mean, guy Santana grabs the ball, and they end up, I don't know what happened.
Unless he thought Santana fielded it in foul territory. Maybe he thought it was a foul ball.
I've never seen a guy off the bag standing there making the call for the umpire. I mean, it was like, you've got to be kidding me. I would be pulling that guy aside and saying, what in the hell? Do you think you're going to play at this level with doing shit like that? Really stupid. But it got us out of trouble in 2 innings. And I'll tell you, when a team's got men on second and third and like 1 man out or no men out, the Indians can't afford to give up a 2 spot in most of these games. Yep. And if they're going to run themselves out of an inning, that's glorious. But hard to believe. Those managers should be looked at with, with a degree of suspicion. If players, and about 2 other games that I watched, teams that were having trouble scoring were trying to steal third base when they were man on second base with 0 or 1 out, and the guy gets thrown out by a fucking country mile. I mean, one time it was with the young catcher I don't even know what, Bo Taylor, is that his name? Maybe they tried a delayed, I forget what team it was. They ran a delayed steal of third. And I'm holding my head going, who in the hell does that? But we've been able to get out of some situations that look like they were going to be, give up multiple run situations, and we've gotten out of it. So things have been going our way, and it's all good. And the thing is, Reyes is hitting all of his home runs on the road. He's not hitting them at home. Only 1 of his home runs has come in Progressive Field. The rest of them, all 7 of them, have come on the road. And it's not for a lack of distance or anything. He's crushing the ball, but he's not crushing the ball at Progressive Field. So we'll see what happens. The Brewers are slightly under 500, but they're like the Tigers. They can jump out and bite you. There's a lot of teams that are kind of in that vast middle. So we'll see what comes of that. I did want to point out one thing that kind of disturbed me. And congratulations to Ja Morant for being the 2020 Rookie of the Year. And I think it's fair. It's just 99 out of 100 gave him the first place vote. So, I mean, I think it was very unanimous that he was the guy. And if you watched him play, he got the minutes and he really deserved to win. And Zion Williamson didn't play enough to really be able to qualify for that. But the thing that bothered me about this is that in accepting his award, Ja Morant, instead of being all bubbly and happy, said, "Who was the one guy who voted against me?" I'm like, isn't enough enough? You got the fucking hardware. Shut the fuck up. I mean, the ego of all of this, it eludes me. I don't get it. And it's like, whoever that one guy is, I'll tell you this, he motivated me. Well, how could he have motivated you if you didn't know who he was? Shut up.
Well, you're not in the playoffs. You'll have plenty of time to look for him. Yeah.
Shut up and play the goddamn game. I don't know, man. They all want to be in the secret handshake club. I got no idea, but it's bothersome. And then, as we said, Adrian Peterson gone. But I see, it's not like, I mean, if you get rid of a 35-year-old running back, that's, understandable. The team has 4 running backs, the Redskins, and I'm calling them the Redskins because I'm not going to call them
football team.
Yeah. The Washington football team.
That 70s show. I'm not going to call them, the Washington football team.
For short.
Yeah, they've got 4 running backs who are all 27.
They'd be better off if Danny Masterson was running the goddamn team.
Yeah, all their guys are 27 years old or younger, so that's the basis by which the decision was made. I really don't know what's going on in Washington. I don't think, and I look at the whole NFL, the way it's structured. Nobody wants to, get down on the owners of the team because there's only a select number of them. But the league's going to have to do something there. And Adrian Peterson still wants to play. I mean, and I'll say this. I mean, that Adrian Peterson, when he beat his own kid, he's not my guy. All right. But you got to say this. In the last 2 years, he's run for almost 2,000 yards with 12 touchdowns for Washington. And I mean, this was after he looked like when he played for you guys, Brian, over in Arizona, it was over for him, wasn't it?
Well, yeah, they didn't want to utilize him the way that he really needs to be, and he's one of these guys that, like an Earl Campbell or any of the throwback guys, the more you give him the ball, the better he is.
Yes.
Yeah, he wears it down. He's a power runner. He's a power runner.
And so giving him 8 to 10 carries a game isn't gonna help him at all.
No, but I mean, it's amazing that a 35-year-old is still wearing people down. I saw him when he was playing for the Cardinals coming off the injury, and he looked shot. I would have sworn it was just go away. Your career is over.
Plus they had a shitty ass offensive line too.
Obviously, I mean, a guy who doesn't have a big burst and is mainly predicated on running through tackles, which is, he's a guy who's, yards after contact guy. But I mean, that's Chubb. like Chubb. Yeah, it's like taking a look at Chubb. Now, the one thing I'll say about Chubb is that when he gets through, he outruns people too. There's that. But yeah, there's something awfully good about being able to break tackles and get extra yardage. And I can't wait to see Chubb when we actually learn the zone blocking scheme. If he gets the holes that Crowell got when he played in Cleveland, I want to see that because he's going to keep right on running. That will be fun to watch, but it's going to be a work in progress. I hope he stays healthy. The Kareem Hunt thing is the other thing. He can break tackles too, but he catches the ball real well. But I'll tell you, I think Chubb catches the ball better than what I thought he could out of the backfield. So I don't know. Chubb gets stronger as the game goes on. I mean, he's like Kevin Mack that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, Kevin Mack would just wear you down. And, Biner was the guy who kind of came out of the backfield and, caught passes and ran wheel patterns and all of that good stuff. And I think that's what you're going to see more from Kareem Hunt. It's going to be, a fast Larry Zonka, and a better Jim Kick. And I think that there will be holes to be had for both running backs. But Chubb is special. I mean, you see somebody break that many long runs that early in a career, it ain't luck, folks. What it reminded me of was Eric Dickerson. I mean, Eric Dickerson, when he touched the ball, if he got through that first line of defense, holy moly. Fast. Yeah,
but Eric's a little bit leaner.
Yeah, it was like looking at Jim Brown during his prime. everyone wanted to focus on the runs they couldn't bring him down. But man, when he got through on that sweep, he got through the first line of defense. He built up a head of steam. He was fast as hell. I mean, and that's what Chubb was like. I couldn't believe it when I saw him pull away from everybody. It's like, whoa.
He just couldn't outrun the German sniper.
Yeah, the gear that he has, I didn't think he had. So, well, the Indians play at 7:10. I'm getting off the air right now, and so that we're going to continue to be on StreamYard. I want to finish up by saying that the halftime and post game shows will be commencing. We'll be doing our first NFL Pick'ems thing. What is the first game? Do we have a Thursday game coming first?
Yeah, I think it's Kansas City
and Houston, I think.
Yeah,
so,
I think
so let's do this. Monday we'll pick that game, and then on Friday we'll do our pick show, and then what I'm thinking of doing halftime shows just solo because they're so quick. You know how that goes. And the post-game show will be done here on StreamYard. I want to do the halftime shows, I think, just through YouTube, just through their new studio. Yeah. It's very quick. It's very easy in and out. And then the post-game show get going on StreamYard so that way I can start out saying, okay, these are my initial impressions, but I can have you guys into the studio and we can all start sharing our takes on the game. So there will be 2 different systems used, but YouTube's free and just allows me to do the thing solo at halftime, which I think the average halftime show lasts about 11 minutes. Yeah. I mean, it's here and gone. So thanks everybody for tuning into this edition of Moohead Radio. We'll be back again, like we always are, come Monday, and we'll be talking about predictions on the first NFL game of the year. Go Tribe this weekend. Let's see if we can run up our record a little bit more. And until next time, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.
See you.